Hey, hello everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on which part of the world you're joining from. Welcome to this ninth edition of AMA Ask Me Anything in Clarity Chat. This is the 57th episode of Clarity Chat. As always, I begin the session, I actually begin every session by thanking you, all of you, my audience, for your encouragement and engagement from all over the world. So this time my guest has an incessant travel, and that again gave me an opportunity to hit the hat trick of AMA sessions this month. AMAs are nothing but solo clarity chats where I get to talk directly to you when a guest is unable to make it. These are live face-to-face sessions, discussions, answering questions, as well as picking up, some of our backlog questions. But yes, first priority is to the audience live questions. Um, and the fun part of it is a surprise visit by any one of you to the studio. So if you have a question that you want to discuss with me face to face, put it on the comment, and my team will send you the studio link, and then you join a live session. Um, okay, so, as always, before I begin, I must say that that we don't discuss gyan. I have always been sort of a cynic of gyan, and that's why we talk practical experiences, we talk anecdotes, we talk analogies from other industries. Um, but yeah, we give rest to gyan on the weekend. So we have some backlog of past questions: how to handle digital competency development, and I think this is question across the business, not just IT. Strategizing with peers and partners to upgrade your technology, automation, infrastructure automation, and all of that, right? And of course, balancing it with the live questions. But before I go ahead, let's do our weekly ritual. I request all my audience to share their name and where you are joining from in the comment box of LinkedIn or YouTube. And meanwhile, let us see who have joined here. So we have some early highs here from Ravi Kant. Hi, Ravi Kant. We have one from Rakesh Singh. Hi, Rakesh. Yes, last Saturday we met at our alumni convention. Thanks for joining. And hey, Sumit, uh, thanks for giving the shout out to everyone. And hi, Gururaj. Okay, so keep your names, locations coming in. Meanwhile, um, let's start. Okay, so let me check some of these live questions from um, previous chats till the time you guys ask me a question. Okay, the first question is from Jagdeesh Tambi. Oh, my namesake, my past colleague. So he had asked, how are you handling digital competency development considering the users are not tech savvy nor tech background? Okay. So, great question. um, I always say that technology is French, the businesses, processes, customers, manufacturing, all of that is English. And there is always this. We generally think that the problem is one way, that the French guys don't know English, but the problem is also the other way around. The English guys also don't know French. So you have to make it a two-way communication street. Not only have the technology folks in an organization need to learn about business processes, what are the outcomes, what are the KPIs, what are the challenges, struggles, a typical thing I call as pains and plans. But the business guys also need to learn technology, because many a times we tend to over expect from technology, and we think that technology can do everything. So you want to customize it, like a jalebi or an imarti. You know what I mean. So it's always important to for the digital competency development on the business side also. So how do you do that? Number one is, you don't really need to do a carpet bombing. You just need those key decision makers or key influencers who are involved in your program and who need to understand or empathize with your limitations, your constraints, your challenges. Okay. So to them, I typically, what I used to do was to basically get everyone in the room, my development team, some of my business program managers. And I used to ask the key OEM or, my partner architect to sort of give us an overview, the technology overview, how it integrates with others, what are the building blocks, what are some of the constraints, what are some of the capabilities, some of the guardrails, do's and don'ts. And this generally helped. This generally made it real to the people. Now, you can also do it at an enterprise level. Now, I have a dear friend, um, uh, again from my Tata Motors days, so who joined as a group CIO of a large-sized group, and he actually ran an enterprise-wide program to build the digital competencies on the on the business side. So um, so this included things like, for example, explaining what is cloud computing, explaining what is agile and DevOps practices, change management aspects of it, program management aspects of it, extracting the business value, how to do the process side of the change. So it had about 10 or 11 modules, which were run by, many of which were run by external consultants. Actually, I ran a module on this in this program on change management. So yes, you can do it at an enterprise level, but if you're at a program level, you can even do that at a program level by involving your partners, right? Okay, so Jagdish, I don't know if you're there, but if you're there, let me know if that helped. And meanwhile, all of those who are there, yeah, please keep your questions coming. So, no live questions so far, so let me move on to the next backlog questions. It's a great question on how to strategize with peers and partners to upgrade technology, right? So again, a great question. We are always anxious what our competition is doing. What people in other geographies are doing. It's a global competition today, so anyone can come from any geography. So you need to keep your eyes and ears open. So I have a few hacks that I used to use. So one is benchmark, right? So benchmark is leverage any third party independent advisors or independent consultants, the likes of Gartners and Forresters, or any of the big fours to do benchmark. to do benchmarking exercises. Like, for example, I was talking to my next week's Clarity Chat guest earlier today, and he told me that they are using one of the big fours to run a complete security practices and technologies benchmarking to keep sort of a high, to keep a high barrier for any of the intruders out there. So that's one benchmark. And how do you do that? You do that by leveraging any of those independent people out there who are technology agnostic. Second, reverse engineer. Okay, so you know whatever our whatever our competitors are doing, whatever other industry players are doing, it's all out there in the public domain. So when a competitor product comes out, it's out there in the market. You can always go check it out. Okay, so many a times you got to look at what your competitor is doing, or what your peer is doing, and then reverse engineer it, that how would it have done that. Okay, so what tools it would have, what tools would they have used, or what kind of process they would have run, what kind of people they would have put in place to run that kind of change, and you end up absorbing that knowledge. I can tell you there's a practice in automotive, a very known practice in automotive, and believe me, everyone uses it. Okay, which is a reverse engineering practice. It's called tear down. Okay, so what tear down? So let's say you know Mahindra wants to bring a new SUV. Okay, what they will do is they will look at all the other SUVs in the market, buy one piece of each, and give it to their engineers. These engineers will literally tear these down, and they will try to understand the design thought that has gone, by their competitors, R&D engineers, and they would try to pick up some best practices, something good, which they could incorporate in their car. Everyone does it, so therefore it's an industry practice. And when you see the level of products in a particular industry going up, crazily, whether it in terms of quality, reliability, resilience, strength, etc., etc. That the industry is somewhere doing something to keep up with itself, and one of the easy things to do is to reverse engineer. Third thing is partners. Okay, so one of the easiest things that you can do, the partners who are delivering technologies, services, processes to you, uh, they are doing it for everyone. uh, and many a times, there are some partners who focus on certain industry. There are certain automotive partners for design, or there are certain, let's say, FMCG partners for supply chain, right? And this is, I think, one of the very important reasons why you should have strong partnerships, because partners give you the industry intelligence. So again, taking an example, I remember long back when we were working on CRM, we were doing a lot of grounds up thinking on on the entire model, like how will the networks work, what should we be doing on deployment, on support, on the various functionalities, sales, service, etc., etc., etc. um, and it was really funny that after about when we were at it for about 5 or 6 months, um, one of the part some from somewhere, I don't know, maybe it was a partner or somebody, I think it was one of our well-wishers in the industry, who actually sent us an RFP document of one of our competitors. Okay, and he was like, Jagdish, this should have been your RFP. This has everything that you have been telling us. And we actually read it, and we found that, oh my God, this contained everything that we had been thinking through, we had been conceptualizing, and we had been communicating with our partners. And very quickly we could connect the dots that, that we were talking to some large partners who were talking to other people in the industry, and this competitor was smart, and they were basically checking with them as to what were we doing, and that's how what we wanted to do actually went on the other side. Of course, we used different technologies, we used different partners, we used different uh, a different set of processes, uh, but what we want to do was something that came across through the partners. So just to summarize this, benchmark um, with neutral people, reverse engineer by looking at your competitors products, services, anything that they are doing, that they are press releasing, that they are talking about, whatever they are transforming, and try to reverse engineer from there. And third is talk to common partners, and they will be able to tell you some of the plans of your competitor. So this question was from Hari Kumar, pre-sales architect, managed services at Persistent Systems. I don't know whether Hari you have joined here or not, but yeah, whenever you watch the recording, do send out a comment whether this helped or not, right? Okay, so we do have some questions starting to pour in live. Okay, so we have the first one from Ravi Kant. Can you please suggest a list of items or information which are critical for a mechanical person to rise till CDO? Okay, oh, that's a interesting question. So you're looking for a mechanical engineer becoming a chief digital officer. Is that correct, Ravikant? Just give me a yes on the comments. And I think you have asked this question in a more elaborate manner. So let me bring up this question. Okay. Sir, can you please suggest a list of tech items or course which are essential for person with majorly manufacturing experience to raise as CDO? My interest is AR, VR, AIML, and Metaverse. So, Ravikant, I can tell you the typical way. So, I'm a mechanical engineer and I became a CIO. So, you should have a ready answer here. Um, so, let me tell you my, path or how I did that. So, I became part of a technology project, which was the CRM, right? Um, and I was actually I came in as an SME, okay, the subject matter expert for customer service, because I spent my first 7 years in customer service, and people didn't expect beyond customer service related inputs and the connections and whatever it needs to be done on the customer service part to get those decisions from me. I think it was my curiosity in terms of how technology works that I took that opportunity and I started learning everything. I started learning what are the development cycle, whatever tool we were using, that was Siebel at that time. I started getting deeper into the architecture of it as to how it works, and what kind of, I mean, how the whole thing is architected and how does it work, because I was very keen to know the capabilities and limitations of that technology. Then so a lot of that learning came uh, with one, curiosity, and second is problem solving. So I was going out and volunteering for solving any problem that was coming out. Then we had a ton of problems. We had problems regarding networking, because in 2002-3 the network in India was not that great. Therefore, we were setting up a VSAT network, and that VSAT network wasn't very good with Siebel. So we were optimizing the application on VSAT. We ended up setting up a VSAT on top of our building itself for testing. So be curious. Okay, participate in any technology program that your business is running. Don't go in with agendas. Go in with a focus on adding value to the program and learning. Curiosity is the first thing. Value addition is the second thing. And third is, like, not keeping any boundaries in terms of what you want to do. Okay? So don't think that I can't do this, I can't do it. So I came in as an SME, doubled into development, doubled into support, doubled into deployment. And then I started doing budgeting and planning for the entire program. Then there were crises, so I was doing crisis management. Then there was like when Tata Nano came, I started working on a future scalable architecture for that. A lot of it nobody was telling me. It was like I was connected with what the business is talking, where it is going, and just preparing for it proactively. Of course, then that became success, and that success sort of got me role. So you can actually chart out a parallel path. Most of the people who have gone from brick and mortar or those process jobs into technology have followed a similar path. For example, many of the plant people, they uh, and this was the typical migration path in the late 90s, was that someone was a business process expert, participated in a technology program, mostly SAP. Okay, became a SAP expert, and then went on to the other side, and so either went on the other side and became a consultant and a bigger uh, uh, subject matter expert, or you know he sort of became part of IT and took up a higher position. So yeah, as far as learning is concerned, what you have mentioned is AR, VR, AI, ML, and Metaverse. I think those learnings are fine, but you also need to have certain context to apply those learnings. So my suggestion is to you know get into a technology program in whatever role, and then wherever you see those opportunities coming in, there try to raise your hand, try to volunteer for those, and see how these things can help. Don't look at things in isolation unless you find a problem to solve. So that's my second point here. Find out a problem to solve with whatever technology you want to bring in, because technologies have an industry context, right? Certain things work in a certain industry, certain things don't. But what is the common theme across industries? The common theme across industries is you are trying to solve a problem. You're trying to bring in a business outcome by the application of a technology. So focus on that. Before you start looking at technology, start looking at what outcome you're going to bring in with that technology. So I hope that answers your question, Ravi. So now I come to the next question from Guru Raj. And guys, please keep your questions coming. Uh, Again, ask anything. It could be rapid fires as well as any of the technology question. So Guru is asking that, Jagdish, this query is out of curiosity. How has been the business progress till now in understanding its role and responsibility in maturing towards also being a stakeholder in ROI of IT applications? So, Guru, whatever little that I'm tracking around, I think this progress has really made some strides in post COVID. Um, See, again, there is no common answer that can cut across. But if you ask me a general answer, yes, the level of maturity has gone up because more and more people have started following this cross-functional team approach, where you have a team of both technology partner, and I mean IT partner, as well as the business side coming together. And I saw that kind of model, execution model, coming in even when I was there. That we had this project manager from the business side and a project manager from IT side, and both kind of running together, one taking care of business process issues, change management issues, and like coordination with other departments, identifying the pilot users, etc., etc. So a lot of work needs to be done on the business side. And then you had someone who is looking at the entire execution, project progress, etc., etc. So, but if you ask me, is it is it perfect? I don't think anything is perfect. um, I have seen different levels of maturity in different organizations. Typically, in global organizations, because technology plays such a big role, in being global. So, see, think about it. If you don't have the right technology, you cannot go global. It won't be efficient. So, I worked in GE, which was a global organization, and um, I saw that level of close working, and the level of ownership within the business. That was phenomenal. That was phenomenal, right? And we see people who are struggling to scale up. You'll find that you're basically having more a transactional relationship and just demanding from IT, but not doing your bit in terms of uh, improving your own maturity or improving your own contribution to the ROI of those technologies. So tell me if this answers the question, or if there's a follow-up question, do ask. Right? Yeah. Okay. So there is a follow-up question from Ravi Kant. So he says, "I'm already handling projects related to above items, but when I face IT people, I face certain issues like jargons and tech things. Can you suggest basic subjects which I should learn?" Okay. So, so Ravi, I came from customer service. Okay, and I have had enough jargon thrown at me. So ask me about jargon. Okay. My best antidote to that jargon has been Google. So whenever I'm sitting in a meeting, normally, we sit with our laptops in front of us, and anytime, whether someone is talking to me or people are conversing amongst themselves, the moment they start using certain abbreviations or certain jargons, I immediately start googling it. And if you are sharp enough, you will probably be able to figure out. Okay, and you, you won't really have to think that, yo, I don't understand this jargon. Okay. So first thing, learn Google. But then, um, um, when you said basic subjects which I should learn, so please learn things which are related to those projects. Okay. So whatever projects you are handling, as you said, you are handling these projects. Okay. Whatever projects you are handling, let's say if the project you are handling has SAP in it, right? So learn SAP. Don't go to Metaverse. Okay. Uh, if the project you are handling, let's say, has let's say automation, right? Let's say any kind of RP or any kind of automation, go and learn about RPA. But make sure that you are, see, end of the day, we all have a limited 8 to 9 hours, of 8 to 10 hours, or sometimes, let's say, sometimes 15 hours of work every day, and we need to optimize it. We need to make the max out of it. So make it relevant. Whatever you're working on, identify what can be the right subjects to learn in them. If uh, if it is basic learning, you can take courses. If it is more practical, you can actually look at case studies. um, but I find YouTube and Google as the best sources of information. And yes, sometimes Coursera and Academy and all that. Yeah. I would suggest that, not to get starry eyed, and don't have FOMO about technology. Okay, so you know what is FOMO? So FOMO is fear of missing out. Okay, don't have fear of missing out of on technology. You should only have FOMO of adding value. Okay, sometimes you can get so anxious and insecure about these things, and maybe spend time in learning the new things, just so that you can you can mouth out the jargon. that you fail to add value. Okay, you fail to see the business value, you fail to see the drivers of value, and the business processes out there that need to be worked on. And I've seen that happen. So I would really warn against uh, you know uh, focusing on those jargons and tech things. Just focus on driving value. And I have seen, so just to like belabor the point, Ravikant, I have seen people who were on the business side of things. Okay, so people who were executing whatever we were developing for them. They did not know so much of jargon, but they were really taking whatever we were building in technology, and they were really running with it. They were driving change. They were driving behaviors change, habits change. Explaining things to users and all. And I can tell you that these people are actually farther ahead in their career journey. One of them I know, he's a chief digital officer, and he started out as a subject matter expert or as a business program manager, whom we were handing over things when we were developing them. So do not underestimate the power of common man, which is, do not underestimate the power of taking technology and making change happen with it, bringing outcomes with it. uh, Technology is relatively easier to learn. Business outcomes are harder. Okay, so I hope that helps you. So I think the live questions have dried up. Looks like people are. I mean, it's raining everywhere. Even it's raining here. I've not been able to venture out of my home. I've been like complaining to my wife that it's a Saturday and I have not been able to go for golf just because it's incessantly raining. So I can fully empathize with everyone that uh, people are taking a nap out there, or having some samosa or bhaji with chai. Well, you want to pick up your chai? I have mine here. Please go ahead. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, this is a great question from Neha Garg from Nitor Infotech. Okay, she's asking, being a CIO, especially in the time where the mindset of the enterprises was doing digital rather than being digital, what were the key parameters you focused on to define ROI? Okay, so let me see if I can bring up something. Just give me a minute. Okay, maybe I will share some of these things later on. Let me see if I can share something. Yes, I should be able to share this with you. Okay. Yeah. Can you guys see my screen? Um, yeah. So I was just looking at some of my, yeah. So this was a slide I picked up. I think it's almost a 12, 13-year-old slide, Neha. So this was like, agility in addressing key success factors, how to drive the ROI. So, and these are like, some of the things that I have had been doing. So managing top management, patronage and involvement, strong trained business knowledge, built in for program management, customer value focus for each stakeholder. So you are not really looking at doing a technical execution, but you're focusing on what is in it for users, managers, their managers, top managers. You're keeping it lean by covering 95% of process scenarios. You're focusing on analytics and, very importantly, action oriented analytics. You're taking a program approach holistically. You have to manage partners, technologies, network, processes we use. You have to master collaborative partnerships across uh, multiple different domains like development, infrastructure, networking, etc. You have to have strong processes. Develop So development is generally what people focus on when you're doing digital. But when you're being digital, you are focusing on all the other stuff like, the training, deployment, support, data testing, etc. Again, the last 3 points are very, very important for being digital rather than doing digital, which is when you're doing digital, you're stopping at, you go live, there's like some show and tell, and uh, सबके number बन गए, everyone makes their numbers, and then you move on to the next thing. I think being digital is about continuous improvement by listening to the end users. Okay, so you have to continuously improve. You use surveys, change requests, keep involving BUs, review the programs that have gone live. Like for example, when I used to have reviews with my, CXOs, I actually used to, the first slide used to be the business value scorecard from the programs we have done in the past. So you're not just looking at what is coming in the future, but you're also being accountable to what you have done in the past, right? Continuous improvement by revisiting underlying assumptions continuously. The business is always changing. You can't have something uh, out there which you developed at a certain point in time. 3 years it will become irrelevant if you're not revisiting the underlying assumptions continuously. Continuous structure and process alignment to changing business needs. Again, very important one, at least on the technology side of it. I changed my org structure at least about 4 times in 8 years. Just because the business was changing, we were changing the technology function very fast. And that means that, we had to take decisions differently, the workflows have to be different, the processes were evolving, and therefore the structure had to change. So, this is like just I was discovering it yesterday. Um, and I was like, oh my God, like I did it like some 12, 13 years back, and this is still so much relevant. Um, and then I come here and I find that, what is the difference between doing digital and being digital. So the thought I want to leave you with, Neha, is about, the last 3 points, okay, so, which is continuous improvement, continuous evolution, and being accountable for what you have done, not just what you're going to do. Okay. Okay, so we continue the discussion. We have Ravikant. uh, Ravikant, thanks for the insight. Thanks, Ravikant. But yeah, I have some additional comments from you. Okay, so that one we covered. Business outcomes is the only thing which I always focus. Thanks a lot for this great clarity. So yeah, Ravi, many a times, you will be facing many times you will be facing certain doubts, anxieties about, am I doing the right thing? As long as you see, each one of us have to contribute to our organizations in terms of adding value, in terms of the progress of the organization. So as long as you're contributing to that, don't have any FOMOs. Okay. Yeah. So let's move on to the next question, which is which is what would be the adaptability rate of infrastructure automation in near future? Oh, infrastructure automation is already here. So this question came from Hanumantha Rao in one of the past Clarity chats. I'm not sure, Hanumant, whether you're there or not. But infrastructure automation is already here. I mean, cloud cannot be cloud if there is no infrastructure automation out there, right? So, like for example, the entire DevOps set of technologies, um, the infrastructure automation plays a very, very important part in it. Then comes your scalability. Again, infrastructure automation plays a lot of role there. So it's here, and it's just going to grow bigger. And as stuff like containers and all becomes more and more ubiquitous and more supports some of the older technologies, you will see this grow faster. Okay, so let me see if there is any other question here. So no questions so far. Keep them coming, guys. So good. We are able to reduce our backlog significantly this time. Okay, so when to see the CIO's position mandatory for running business of like that of CFO, CS by Companies Act, any law in the coming years? This is coming from Dr. Amrut Urkude, CIO IT Head Corporate HR. Um, if you see, Amrut, Dr. Amrut, I want to point out to the recent observations which were made by RBI on banks. In terms of the IT operations being sort of national importance, because the lots of consumers were getting affected. The apps were not working. They actually even did some penal actions in terms of some banks not being able to roll out new credit cards or new services unless you put your house in order. I think that's an extreme example of an industry which is completely technology driven, which is banking. But I think that's a sign of things to come. So you are going to have, um, I mean, any industry which is big enough, if it has a disruption which can cause significant ripple effects, not just on its own operations, but your suppliers and your customers and all of that, you're going to have that kind of regulatory oversight on it. So may not be may not be early that your a law may come, um, where you make a IT head mandatory. I'm not sure whether there is a law which says that CFO has to be mandatory, right? Or the head of supply chain has to be mandatory, or the head of manufacturing has to be mandatory. But it's like, you want someone to take an overall accountability of a particular function. You want someone to evolve it, keep it current, keep it benchmarked, bring in the best practices, apart from overseeing the operations. And I think that's where technology becoming more and more central, especially post COVID, where people who did not have sufficient amount of technology couldn't really even really struggled. I think the need for technology is now ubiquitous. It is known for everyone. I'm not sure whether you really require a law to say that the CIO position should be there. But yes, I think it's in the self-interest of the organization, its sustenance, its long-term, uh, existence, that you require a role like a CIO. You may call it with whatever names. You don't really necessarily need to call it CIO. You can call it as head of IT. You can call it as a CDO. and different names. But yes, you need somebody who needs to be overseeing your technologies day in and day out. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Um, okay, so this is an unknown user. It says income disparity versus number of experience. How to make sense of it? Oh, this is a classic question. I think I have heard it from people uh, who are not able to see anyone who has a very high income with low years of experience will not complain about it, right? So let's understand where this complaint comes from, or where this point comes from. This point comes from someone who has a lot of experience but is not able to command the level of salary that when you look at somebody with less number of years of experience. And I think I've been on the other side, so I've never complained, but I've had enough I would say examples of why this comes. So number one, this the biggest reason that this comes, okay, that you don't have sufficient income despite having a good number of years of experience. I think the first one is um, comfort zones. You have probably never tried to come out of comfort zones. You have not tried to experiment with different roles. Sometimes you have been in the same company for a long number of years without really changing roles, within the same role. Or you have not you have not tried to do new things. So that kind of those things. So comfort zone has its cost, and that cost leads to this kind of a question. Okay. The second thing is many times you have to read the winds. Okay, so um, like for example, cloud. So today um, I see all around that there are enough number of infrastructure related resumes floating around. The people who have got disrupted. I think this whole thing started about maybe 10 years back, when cloud started and everyone was forecasting that, that cloud is going to become, the cloud is going to grow much faster than anything else. I know X percentage of organizations will be on the cloud by Y year. Z percentage of organizations are going to be on cloud by N year. And I think that was the time for anyone in infrastructure to learn cloud and to be ahead of the pack in terms of learning, experimenting, moving to an organization which is adopting cloud and stuff like that. But we become busy with ourselves, we remain in our comfort zones, and we basically say that, okay, yeah, you know what, I mean, somebody adopted it, my organization is not going to adopt it. That doesn't happen. So, and this is so in whatever area you are, you need to look at what is the next big wave which is coming and start dabbling in it. At it. Don't be left out. Don't be left out. Learn it, experiment with it, and it works. I have a colleague, who was a similar sort of profile, infrastructure kind of profile, and he had trouble sort of getting into this new dispensation anywhere. And I said, yeah, look at some of these new technology. Why don't you learn cloud? Why don't you become a, let's say, AWS certified architect? He actually did that, and he became a trainer and all that. And he's doing completely something different, but at least he's not complaining about this particular question, right? Okay, so I think we have sort of run out of questions. It's 5:49 now. We do have more questions, but for once, in the interest of the rains that's out there, let's end the chat a little early today. So so thank you everyone who has attended this Clarity chat. And thank you everyone who's watching this recorded version. Rainy weekend, please have chai, samosas, bhajia, and all of that. But of course, like, as soon as the sunshine comes, do go running as well. Let me enjoy my cup of tea, and let me leave you for enjoying the rest of the weekend. Bye bye. Yes, we'll be back on next Saturday, and this time with a really energetic guest talking to us about digital transformation. Till then, bye bye. Have a great weekend.